Hey, you did it.
Yes.
Good job.
That was very fun.
Nice. High five. This is very. Wait.
Oh, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
All right.
Whoa.
Oh boy.
Are we live? I think so.
I think.
Is
Yeah.
it just that delayed?
It does say watch live now.
Well, we are trying.
Let's.
I'm gonna assume.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
All
right, we're live.
All right. Well, that was a hell of a delay.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Let me pull it up on my on my dashboard here. Howdy doody, folks. I don't know.
Is that what you meant to say?
Not really.
Yeah.
But it happened, so let's just move forward here.
It's okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute this because. All right. Well, we do appear to be live. All indications are that we are live.
I would say so. And
in fact, folks, you may have noticed we have a new we got a new sort of an energy going in the studio today.
Mm-hmm.
Insofar as that Noah and I are physically we're right here. Please don't do that.
I can now do that.
That was not necessary. I think people get the idea.
That was the reason why I wanted to do this.
All right.
It's like that thing with the Simmons, like, stop, I'm not touching you. Why are you angry? I'm not touching you.
Stop hitting yourself. God. This is going to be a bit of a mess for the podcast. I hope that the audio portion, we're at least able to conduct ourselves in a somewhat professional
We're getting it all out.
Yeah, we're getting it out here, folks.
Yes.
We just ate a pizza, so we got lots of energy.
Mm-hmm.
We're like 12, apparently. We weren't friends when we were 12, though, right? We were like 13.
Yeah, something like that. 8th grade, right?
Yeah.
13,
I think we
14,
were 13 because we hadn't turned 14 yet. It was the fall.
Sounds about right.
A long time.
Yeah.
4 years. I'm kidding. That was stupid. Anyway, someone here. We've been getting this every week. It's just twisting the knife here.
Yeah.
What do we think about the No March event? I mean, my goodness. At this point, it could still happen. There's still a Tuesday left. I'm just kidding. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, we discussed it last week.
We did. Yeah. Honestly, I don't know. That's what I think. What do you think?
That's what you think.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think that if you want to find out what we think, go to your favorite podcasting platform.
Oh,
gotta plug it. Gotta plug it.
That was a good plug.
I don't know.
That was a fresh one. That was very good.
Thank you.
Someone just said this is different. Excellent observation, Barnett. You've cracked the case.
Yes.
We were hoping that no one would notice.
Yeah.
We were even considering getting some pipe cleaners and making that split screen bar just to see if we could get away with it.
Yeah.
By the way, actually, you know what? I feel like we should do a little bit of a little A/B testing here because we can change. We can change the color of our background live on air. So, let's go through a couple options. We got orange.
Okay.
We got pink. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
We got that is supposed to be red. It just looks like pink but dim.
Yeah. No.
Stupid. We got blue. That's a fun. We got green, and then we got like a teal color.
Yeah.
Or it's supposed to be teal, but it's definitely blue.
Looks like an ice blue.
Or we could just kind of do one of those. We could just go full gamer mode all night. I mean, granted, I have to control it with my thumb, but what are we thinking here, folks? What color? We got Seth is saying blue. We got a couple people saying blue. Okay, blue is teal. I mean, it was kind of teal. Oh no, wait! That was a preset.
Oh,
now I've ruined it. It's okay. I can bring it back. There we go.
All right.
So we got blue. I'm hearing blue here. It seems like blue, teal. Looks like we got a common theme here. I guess we could make it. Wow, that does not work. This is not I'm trying to make it a little bit, bring some more green into it, but it does not work. Okay.
Takes a while for that green to get in there.
Yeah, this is a very. What was this $15? This little light?
I think so.
Yeah, it's definitely showing its $15-ness. Well, there we go. One person said orange, but it's too late. It's already decided.
It's blue.
The election is over, and blue is our new president.
Well, that's actually true.
It is actually true. You're right.
So
Ah.
yeah, we went as they said orange. Not orange anymore. It's blue.
Oh,
There
that
you
was
go.
a very clever little,
yeah.
really funny joke right there.
It's
That was very good.
more of an observation.
Someone said 2 lights and have a different color for each side. I feel like that would be bad.
I mean, we could do it. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know how that would look.
I think we need more gaming lights.
Yeah.
I think what we should do is map out the exact border of this frame and just put the LED gamer lights so it's like backlit around the frame. That would actually be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I said that as like a joke, but I think it would actually be pretty sick.
As long as you set the camera up perfectly each time.
Well, that's true. Although you would know where to put it because you'd see the lights.
That's true.
I don't know. That could be fun. I don't want to do that here because I film a lot of videos here and it would ruin them.
Yeah.
But I think it would be, I don't know, that would be actually very interesting. And if you put them dim so they don't like completely wash out the frame, it would look like a really cool, like a backlight.
Yeah, I could see it.
That'd be cool. Anyway, we just came up with that. Someone saying boo gamer culture. At this point, we're talking mainly an artistic thing, I think.
Yes.
Can I name the brand of the light? I don't know it.
Wait, the name of the app though is so funny. It's like Happy Lighting or something.
I think that's exactly what it is. The name of the app is called, it's Happy Lighting. You were right. You got it in one. It's called Happy Lighting. And when you open it, oh wait, there's a shake. Okay, there's a toggle that says shake.
Try it.
What in the world?
Oh,
no. Why? What is the point of that? That is so pointless.
That's kind of fun. I don't know.
I mean, I guess so, but why would you want that? Like, oh boy, every time I shake my phone, it'll become a random different color.
Is there like I could see it
wait,
working?
The brightness
like
is only on half.
a
Oh, that's
button.
better. There we
Okay.
go.
All
That's
right,
more
all right.
brightness. That's what we want right there. That's very. Wait, did I still have shake on? Yeah, I do.
Ooh, that color is like nothing.
This is so weird. I don't know why you would want this capability.
I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't possibly.
Might want to turn it
These
off.
two are different colors, but they look exactly the same. Anyway, I think that's enough fun with Happy Lighting, the app, which is of course a fun and cool app. How's our EQ here? It seems like I'm a little louder. I'm going to turn myself down and turn you up a little bit.
All right.
Noah's a very quiet speaker. We've gotten a lot of comments about Noah being quieter. Noah's a quiet dude, and also I'm a loud dude.
Yeah.
So we've got the EQ going on here. Hopefully we'll get that. Yeah, I'll admit Daniel kind of nailed that. Got that one right on the head. I do that a lot.
Yeah, especially like with the that definitely sells that.
Yeah, I'll admit to that. I won't argue with that.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a good one. That's a really kind of going straight past the whole topic of the podcast.
Yeah.
Just getting right down to it here.
Meaning of life.
What's the meaning of life? Now, this one was directed at me, but I'm gonna direct it at you because I don't know.
Oh, geez.
So what do you think?
I don't think any of us know. You know what I mean? You can. I think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to come up with something funny or clever to say, but my brain doesn't work that fast. So my sincere answer is, I think that the meaning is whatever you make of it.
Wow. That was kind of a cop-out, but I guess it sounds cool.
I don't know.
Someone also asked, what is the purpose of the live stream? So it's a podcast, which is, I guess we didn't put podcast in the title. I guess that's on us.
Yeah.
I'm going to change that right now.
All right. Well, okay. So the question though is it about the live stream in general? Because this is a podcast, but right now it's not the podcast. It's the sunset pre-podcast.
That's
So
true.
We're just here for the first 15 minutes before the podcast to chat and hang out. We got to make sure our equipment's working well, but we're gonna chat and hang out.
I gotta go get my other computer. I'm not signed in on here.
Okay.
So are you gonna be able to entertain people for a minute?
Sure, I'll take over for you.
All right, cool.
Okay.
All right, this is now the Noah Show.
All right. All right. This is pretty good. So Luke, what do you how would you describe yourself in one word? Well, geez, I don't know. I'd say I'm a big old nerd, and I like to take apart Macs and put them back together sometimes, or sometimes I just leave them taken apart. I'm sorry. All right, I'm sorry. Luke is just looking at me while he's getting his computer out. Just gave me a good look there. But yeah, so very interesting, Luke. I've always felt that you were a big nerd, and I'm just glad to hear you say it. Now I'm just wondering though, what do you think of me though? Well, geez, I think
right,
you're a pretty cool guy.
Outta here.
Very cool.
No.
Okay.
That was the worst show in the world. I think I probably just lost 180,000 subscribers because of that one.
Yeah, down to zero.
That's you. Do you not even know how many subscribers I have? Because that's not down to zero.
Wait, what did you say? 180?
180,000 subscribers.
So you have 100,000 left, approximately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Down
that's
to zero.
fine.
Come on, man.
That's fine.
Good grief. Luke Miani starter pack. Oh, geez. Yikes. So is it. I can't argue with that either. I feel like I'm getting put on blast here, and I don't like it.
I like it.
This is my own safe space.
Yeah. Not anymore.
No one's supposed to be mean. Everyone's supposed to be nice. That's the rules. Okay? That's the rule of the space that we have created here. It's for nice people.
Uh-huh.
So if you're a mean person, then you're not allowed to be here.
All right, then I guess I have to leave.
Yeah, get the hell out.
Yeah.
Someone said I should design a case. Oh, like a briefcase. Yeah, I think I'd be pretty good at that. I think I could make a good. I would probably. I would do an attaché.
Okay. All right.
I'm more of an attaché guy, I think. What about you?
I'd say I'd like a nice. I mean, maybe it's not quite a briefcase, but like a nice something where I could put a laptop in it. You know what I mean? Not quite a briefcase, but you could do like a briefcase style with a laptop pocket and put your documents in there.
So that just sounds like a briefcase.
Does it have a laptop pocket?
I suppose.
Then I'll take it.
Well, it's still a briefcase though. I don't know why you're describing it as if it's like a revolutionary thing, but it's just a briefcase with a pocket. Is the pocket on the inside or the outside?
Well, I don't know, because when I think of a briefcase, I think if you just open it up and you can like stick a bunch of money in there or whatever. I don't think of it as having like a laptop.
Briefcases are only for money.
Well, what are you're gonna put papers in there? You still use paper?
Yes, all the time.
Yeah.
What about diamonds?
True. All right. Things of outsized monetary value.
Exactly. That's the express functionality of a briefcase.
Yes.
I think that's pretty accurate. Whoa, hello, it's 9:00.
All right.
The sun is setting.
Yes.
All right. Now what we're gonna do today, we're trying a little fun new stuff here. We're gonna record the podcast separately because, of course, now that we are on the
it's right there.
Oh.
Just make sure it's the right input.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be. Every time as you might have noticed, we're not wearing our headphones because we don't need to because we're right here. But every time I plug in the AirPods, it switches the mic automatically. So every time, if you've been here for the previous episodes, at the beginning, it always sounds terrible because it always automatically switches the input, which is fun. But we don't have that problem today because we don't have any other inputs.
Indeed.
So here we go.
All right.
Welcome to Drk Mode, the podcast that brings you sage advice from two technology experts. And that's not just what we call ourselves, it's what our moms tell people when the light bulb won't download MPEG-4s. I'm your host, Luke Miani.
And I'm your host, Noah Rubin. On this show, we take questions from listeners, attempt to answer them to varying degrees of success, and maybe even have a laugh or two along the way. That was
the
one.
laugh.
That was one.
That was one. So we only have one more laugh that we're allowed.
At a maximum.
At
one
most.
or two.
Yes, if there are no more laughs, that would also be acceptable.
Yes.
If there are two more laughs, we'd be in breach of contract.
Exactly.
And we'd be liable for any damages.
Exactly.
So with that sort of out of the way, I think we can get started here on this legally sturdy ground that we have established here in the studio today.
Yes.
So our first topic for tonight is talking about what in the world we think AirTags are going to be like and how AirTags are going to connect to the iPhone. This was sent in by Sam. If you want to send in a suggestion of your own, go over to drkmodepodcast.com. That's drkmodepodcast.com. And you'll find all the links to listen to the podcast as well as to send us any suggestions. We've really enjoyed reading the emails that you guys have sent us, so keep them coming.
Mm-hmm.
And this first one about AirTags is, I think, an interesting question because, my goodness, has there ever been a product that is all hype and no substance more than AirTags? I think that this, maybe not proportionately in terms of like quantity, but in terms of, I guess it is proportionately, more hype and less product than like Cyberpunk, Star Citizen. Those are like mega hype games. This isn't a game, but I think this is, I'm like, why do people care?
Well, those things exist now.
That's true.
Which AirTags have been rumored for a long time. I would argue, I don't know where AirPower fits into the mix. I feel like that was fairly rumored about, and then it sort of vanished.
I don't know, because I think so. It was rumored, like, I think when it wasn't rumored as much before it was announced. Between when it was announced and when it was discontinued, or I should say abandoned.
Yeah.
Between that time, there was a decent bit of like, I think people were sort of like, oh, well, AirPower is coming this time. And I actually, now that I say it out loud, I think that's pretty similar to what we're getting now.
Well, but you actually made a good point, though, is that Apple announced AirPower. They still haven't announced AirTags.
Yeah. How long has it been that we've been getting AirTag rumors at this point?
At least September, but I feel like it's been longer than that, right?
Oh, September? Are you kidding? I thought you like September of 2019, maybe.
Really?
Oh, easily. I feel like AirTags have been at least a year. At least. Probably more than that, if we're being honest.
It's been a long time. And it's funny because it has been a long time, but it's also been the least, like if you're talking about the proportion of the product hype to the release, I guess. Yeah. There's been, in the release category, there's zero. No announcement, no release, no teaser, nothing. So it's actually, it's, depending on how you do your fraction, it's either zero or it's infinity.
I mean, I guess I can't fault your logic on that one. It's, yeah, honestly, I don't get the hype. I think at this point, it's just the sort of endless fascination with Apple leaks and rumors, regardless of what the devices actually are. Because like, I feel like, I don't know, I get the sense whenever I go on Twitter or when I read specifically the comments on tech news articles that talk about Apple leaks, not just AirTags, but pretty much anything, I feel like half the time it's people judging Apple for the things that they haven't actually done yet because it's a leak. Right. They're saying, wow, that's stupid of Apple to hypothetically do this in the future, potentially, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's like 50% preemptive judgment. And then the other 50% is just like wild speculation, correction based on no actual insider knowledge, and just generally people who aren't really interested in buying it. I think it's more of like a spectator sport than anything at this point, especially with AirTags. I mean, I'll admit it's pretty amusing. Like, it seems like every week there's some new, are AirTags going to come out and then they don't. And then that's just more fuel for next week's speculation about AirTags. So I feel like as soon as the AirTags come out, people are just going to go, oh, neat. And then never speak of them ever again.
Yeah, like I mean, realistically, it's like the Tile, but
yeah,
I guess it'll be better because it's more integrated in the ecosystem. But like at the end of the day, it's basically the Tile. The Tile's been out forever. Like, yeah, no, I agree. People are very into the idea of like a new Apple product that I don't like. Yeah, when it comes out, they're not gonna like they care about it so much because it's this new Apple product that's like being rumored about and everyone wants to know what's going on. But once it comes out, I don't know, people are going to care too much.
I mean, I don't care already, and they're not even out yet because I feel like, I mean, how interesting could they possibly be? I'm sure, this is Apple we're talking about. I feel like even when Apple does announce stuff, you get so excited, and then afterwards when like your non-tech friends ask you, oh, well, what's new? You're like, oh, well, there's this thing. And then like I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but like when you watch an Apple event, you're like, oh, wow, that's insane. That's so cool and crazy. But then afterwards, when you think about it and you try to like go over everything that's interesting, it's not that interesting.
Yeah, no, they do such a good job in the keynotes of like making everything seem really cool. I'm like, sometimes it is really cool, but like, yeah, there are some, like there have been some iPhone models that are, some of them are not as big of a leap as the other ones, and the AirTags and like all those other things where like they seem so cool, and then you think about it and you're like, all right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay. I think iPhones are the biggest culprit of that. Mm-hmm. I haven't had as much of that with the Mac because I feel like, well, first of all, Macs don't make keynote appearances as often as iPhones because, like, if you think about it, Macs get internal refreshes very frequently, and those don't require any sort of press attention. Well, they'll get attention, but they don't require any direct, like, keynote presentation from Apple.
Right.
With the iPhone, every single year, that is a keynote. It is a staple in their lineup. So there has to be something to talk about. And I feel like that leads to, you got to fill some time to some degree.
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, so on the iPhone 12 Pro, I like my iPhone 12 Pro. Do you have a Pro? I have the Pro Max. They're great.
And the Mini.
I also have the Mini, yes. The Mini is the unsung hero of this generation of iPhone, and I will not apologize for that. No one is buying the things, but they're so good. But realistically, the big feature for this year's iPhone was square. It was just a square design.
Pretty much.
Like, okay, so they got a little bit bigger screen. Cool. They got LiDAR on the Pros, which are useless.
Yeah.
I have not even, someone could come in the middle of the night and steal the LiDAR sensor out of my phone. I don't know how they would do it, but if they did, I legitimately would not notice.
Fair.
LiDAR has made next to no difference for me whatsoever. Okay, maybe it makes the Measure app more accurate.
Yeah.
Perhaps. But again, I don't really use the Measure app all that often. And I don't know, it's just one of those things where they spent a lot of time and they have their little animations where it projects all the dots and you're like, oh, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh, I don't actually really use that all that much.
Yeah. Then there were some other things that people are mentioning in the comments. They said 5G. 5G is cool. My favorite thing is whenever I see the UW, the ultra wideband in the status bar, I always run a speed test, and then if it's a good enough number, I'll send a screenshot to Luke. So
what was the highest you got?
It was like 2,500 megabits per second, I think. Something like that. It was like really.
It's ridiculous.
But it's like if you
really
can
good.
Find it, and if you stay still once you find it, then you can use it.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem is. So when Noah was looking for apartments coming down to DC, when we were doing this office studio podcast thing, we went to this one place, which was a weird place. We didn't like it, but on the way out there was like 4 square feet of ultra wideband. It was literally 4 feet. It was like one sidewalk tile
that
had ultra wideband, and that was it. And then we moved forward and it was gone. It was back down to like, it wasn't even 5G. It was like down to LTE. It was like that big of a jump. And it does beg the question. I mean, I think that it's kind of scummy for all of these communications companies to be advertising it as like a feature. If 5G ultra wideband were the feature I would be promised, I would be very disappointed, because all of the 5G speed tests that I've done have been very, very marginally, if not the same.
Yeah, I have to agree. I feel like okay, so like you're talking about 5G coverage, like the regular 5G, not the ultra band. I get pretty good coverage of that, but I feel like I don't know if it's that much faster than LTE. And
yeah, it's not.
And when it's on your phone, and it's like I'm not going to be watching videos on it or whatever, because I'm not, I got my data plan. I'm not going to burn through my data like that.
Yeah, we don't have unlimited.
You know what I mean?
What's your data plan? What do you have?
At the moment, it's like a shared with my family, but
I think I'm on one of those too.
Yeah,
I don't know how many gigs it is.
I don't know, but I'm not trying to burn through it. So I feel like for the stuff that I actually do, on data, I'm not sure if 5G makes that big of a difference. It's a flashy thing. It's great for Apple to talk about. It's great for the carriers to talk about. Not that big of a deal.
And apparently Apple's already working on 6G. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I think I read an article about that.
They really can't wait. I do wonder though, because like if 5G is this whole infrastructure that has to go out, like can we not just give it a little while before we start working on the next one? I mean, I get that that's how technology works, prototypes and whatnot, but my goodness.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, if 6G is ostensibly better than 5G, this might be one of those things where if someone pulls up this podcast episode in 15 years, they're going to be like, look at this idiot. This guy was so stupid. Why in the holy hell would you ever need more than 2,500 megabits per second download? Like, we're a long way off, don't get me wrong, from having 25 megabit per second downloads being like a normal thing. Like, it's still to the point where we're walking out of a building, see the thing, and literally jump up and down, and everyone on the street is like, what the heck are these guys doing? Because we're seeing our ultra wideband. But like, hypothetically, 5 years from now, if that's the norm, why would anyone possibly need more than that? That's twice as fast as the internet that I have at the office. And I have no problems with that kind of speed. I don't need that when I'm on the bus.
Yeah, no, I feel like, yeah, I could see it being useful at home, or like when I say at home, I mean like if you got a lot of people, you're really doing some intensive things. But yeah, when you're out on the go, I don't know about 5G. The other one that people mentioned was MagSafe, which neither of us even have any MagSafe accessories or products. It seems kind of cool, but like not really interested.
Yeah, that's true. I think, I don't know. I've never been a big one to accessorize my iPhone. I don't know. Actually, you know what? This is maybe an interesting topic. This wasn't one of our written down ones, but I'd be interested to see what chat has to think. If you have accessories for your iPhone, there's an entire like economy of iPhone accessories out there. And I'll be honest, I don't really partake in it. Like, I guess you could consider an Apple Watch to be an accessory for the iPhone indirectly. Same with like AirPods or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean like direct iPhone accessories, mounts, MagSafe, cases, screen protectors, even camera lenses. That's another one that there is. Let's get some more suggestions in the chat, because I'm trying to think of all the ones that there are that I don't have, because I don't have anything. I don't have a case. I think I've talked about this on the channel a couple of times, but I have never and will never buy a case and put a case on my phone. I'm sure I'm going to get flamed in the old chatteroony here for saying that, but I've never done it. I've never done screen protectors. I've never done it. And I've never cracked a screen on one of my iPhones. So that's a little flex right there.
It's pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. I used to, like when I got the iPhone 10, I put a case on it because I figured it was like too expensive to not put a case on. But now I have my 12 Pro. I don't have a case on it.
It's better.
The thing, so with the 10, it was like, oh, it's too expensive, I can't have a case on it. With the 12 Pro, it was like, oh, it's too beautiful, I
Mm.
can't put a case on it. So it's totally, totally fine condition, totally good. So
I have to say, so far I've really noticed with the 12 Pro, the stainless steel frame is indestructible.
yeah.
Like, so I've never cracked a screen, but that's not to say that I've never dropped a phone or, had some dents and some dings.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that happen a couple of times. My iPhone XS got a little bit bruised. I scratched the screen one time because I dropped it and it like slid under my bed
Oh, man.
on a hardwood floor. That one wasn't super good, but I've never cracked a screen. But with the 12 Pro Max, I've inflicted damage to other things with it.
Yeah.
It's that like robust. I don't know. Like I dropped it I dented my floor at home. I put a big old dent in the wooden floor. I mean, granted, stainless steel is harder than wood ostensibly, but
yes.
I dented a MacBook.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I dropped my 12 Pro Max on the palm rest of my MacBook, and I put a dent in the MacBook, and I don't even know which corner it was on the iPhone because there's nothing. There's not even a scuff or a scratch. It's actually pretty impressive. You could probably use an iPhone 12 Pro Max as a murder weapon, I believe.
Oh, geez.
Not that you should.
I gotta look out for you now.
Yeah, you better be careful. You don't want to get on my bad side. I got that dangerous phone.
Yeah. Well, I could get you back.
You have a 12
defend
Pro.
myself.
You can't really. That's not gonna win. Come on. Have you seen the size of the camera bump on that thing?
I mean, okay, your phone is bigger. I'll give you that, but
Absolutely.
I don't know. I think I could take you on.
I don't think so.
I think we should find out.
I don't.
Okay.
Anyway, continuing on with the podcast, there you go. Not putting a case on your phone is extremely lousy advice. I never said it was advice. Okay, I think we should be clear. Granted, we are.
This is an advice
arguably-
podcast, so I think
Technically.
most of the things we say are inherently taken as advice given the context. But
I
yes,
did say that I would be flamed for saying it,
That
which
is
means
true.
that it was not a socially desirable position.
fair. That's fair. I think you covered.
And I think we
yourself.
were pretty clear about we weren't saying, hey, take the case off your phone and throw it away. I just
Yeah.
said, personally, I've never done that. I'll fully admit that I'm an insane lunatic
Mhm.
for doing that because it's not smart. But, I don't know. I just, every time I see an Apple keynote and they zoom in with their little shots in the space dust and, they're like, oh, look at the chamfered edges. Well, not anymore, but look at how precise and beautiful. And then it's like, okay, but if I'm going to buy this phone, I want to experience that. I want to feel those materials, that matte glass,
Mhm.
those stainless steel rails. I don't want it to just be all like covered in some like $5 piece of plastic,
No, it's funny you say that because for my iPhone 10, the case that I put on it was, I think, like $10 on Amazon.
I know it is kind of funny. Actually, I think my dad could probably beat you on this.
Oh,
So we're gonna
boy.
have to go back a couple of years.
All right.
And he probably doesn't know that I'm going to put him on blast for this tonight. I don't know if my dad actually listens to the podcast. I might get a text about this tomorrow, but I'm gonna roast my own dad for a moment here. So we're gonna rewind back to 2016, summer of 2016. This is right before the iPhone 7 was coming out. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a rumor when the iPhone 7 was coming out that there was going to be the smart connector that we had on the iPad, and that was going to make its way to the iPhone. Now, at the time, my dad was a part of, and he might still be, I don't know. It was like this weird app that was like for beta testing products. So he could buy, I think he would sometimes pay for it and sometimes not pay for it. But like if he did pay for it, it was very, very cheap.
Okay.
To get like pre-production versions of products that were going to go on sale.
That's cool.
And there was an iPhone case company that was selling or was beta testing iPhone 7 Plus cases.
Okay.
And so he got this iPhone 7 Plus case for either free or like $199. $1.99, not $199, just to be clear.
Okay.
And I think it may have been the worst case I've ever seen. I mean, it's not that it was not excitingly bad. It was just your normal clear plastic case.
Ugh, yeah.
But the thing that was really amusing about this case was that because he got it like right when the iPhone came out, but it was a pre-production case, it had a hole in the back of it for the smart connector that didn't actually exist.
Nice.
So we just had a hole in the case for no reason.
That's pretty. That's. I never heard that before. That's so funny.
Yeah, and the side effect of this, this case was terrible. He used it for 2 years. This pre-production case for the phone with the port that didn't exist, that cost him either nothing or less than $4, and he used it for 2 years. But it was such a bad case that it didn't even like seal properly, and like a whole bunch of dust and stuff got in and completely ruined the paint on the black, not the piano finish space dust iPhone 7 Plus, the jet black one. It was just a normal black one, the matte, and completely ruined the case.
Man.
It's all like pockmarked. And the case itself became like this horrible brown yellow, like the way that those really, really cheap plastic cases will oxidize. And it looked absolutely disgusting. It was terrible. I'm like, why? This was an expensive phone. It was a 128 gigabyte iPhone 7 Plus. That was pretty expensive in 2016. So I was like, why would you pair this with the worst case that has ever been manufactured?
It's a fair question to ask.
So that was my roast of my own dad there. Sorry, Dad, if you're watching this. It's funny actually. My dad listens to Gadget Cast, but I don't know if he listens to our podcast.
Oh man!
Although it is funny because he listened to Gadget Cast, not knowing that I've been on it before. So he was listening to it one time, and then they brought me on the show in this particular episode, and he called me and he was like, "Wait, you were on Gadget Cast? I've been listening to them for like a month."
That's
so
funny.
He had no idea.
That's really funny.
But I guess, well, that's actually slightly awkward now because I've just admitted live in front of everyone that my own dad doesn't even listen to our podcast as much as our rival podcast. Right?
Oh yeah.
Someone's gonna someone clip this and put this up on Twitter, and let's see how long it takes Greg to flame me.
Yeah.
And rub this in my face. But anyway, while we're waiting for that to happen, why don't we move along to our next question, which was sent in. Let me pull this up here. I'm not prepared. Oh man, I lost it. Okay, I found it. So this was sent in by Jacob from the UK. And he wants to hear our thoughts on the viability of owning or obtaining a 5.1 Mac Pro. And of course, this is relevant now because those things are getting pretty old, 11 years old, and we're on the M1 transition period. So it's a very interesting question. And Jacob says, especially since we can get a metal-supported GPU, so you can use a Big Sur patcher on these 5.1 machines. And his school thinks their Mac Pro 5.1 died, although only the GPU is dead. And they are now turning it into an aquarium. And he says that he thinks this is a waste, which is objectively true. If it's a working computer that just needs a new graphics card, it's probably best not to turn it into an aquarium. Also, how?
Yeah, I was going to ask. Okay, so the 5.1 Mac Pro, it's not the trash can. It's the one before that. Yeah. So it looks like the current one, but, the older.
The OG cheese grater
design. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I was going to say there's no, like clear panels or anything on it. It's like.
Correct.
The fish is going to, be chilling in there and no one can see it.
Night fish.
Yeah, night fish.
There's night fish. They're fish that only like dark aluminum caves.
Well, there's weird fish at the very bottom of the sea with all the crazy
ones?
the ones that have the lights that come off of their heads.
Oh, what are those called? Someone in chat tell us what the light fish. The in Finding Nemo.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
The anglerfish.
Is that what it is?
I'm pretty sure it's an anglerfish. Someone's gonna confirm that in chat, but I feel really smart right now because I'm pretty sure it's an anglerfish.
All right.
And that could be interesting because there's holes in the front, so the glowing of the anglerfish could peek out.
Oh, I see.
That would be very cool. I'm gonna assume, yeah. Someone look at that. I was right. Someone said clownfish. That's Nemo.
That's Nemo.
That's not the glowing fish.
Yeah, there's another
Someone
angler.
said pufferfish. I don't know. That's not it either.
Not quite what
I
you were
was right.
thinking
I was
of.
right about the anglerfish.
Yeah,
That was like the first time that I've been right
about anything.
about anything.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that one.
Yeah. Wow. Impressive. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna assume that they're gonna replace the side panels with plexiglass.
Okay, but then
That's
are
my
they gonna
guess.
get like custom like Mac Pro shaped plexiglass panels?
And
You can't just stick something on there.
Yeah,
and
I realized-
whatever.
I think I just completely ruined all of the like smart points that I got by remembering anglerfish and thinking that the only thing you would need to do to turn the cheese grater Mac Pro into a fish tank is put plexiglass on the side. Never mind that there's holes all over the front and back of it. I didn't think of that.
To be fair, I didn't think of that either.
You didn't think of that either?
I was gonna say that you would need to get like a custom plexiglass that was the right size, but I didn't think of the holes.
The holes are going to be a problem.
The holes are
before
gonna get you every time.
every single time. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get away with that. So I guess you got to plug the holes.
Yeah,
You got to get the plexiglass.
yeah,
I feel like it would be easier to just update the thing to Big Sur,
yeah.
and then you could just hook it up to a monitor and Google aquarium 10-hour loop.
Oh, I see. So you're not turning it into an aquarium. You're turning it into an aquarium video player.
I would even argue that you could put, instead of sort of waterproofing a Mac Pro,
Mhm.
you could just put a monitor in it
That's true.
and then just stream that. You could fit an Apple TV and a monitor.
It's interesting.
I would be better. Either way, I think we got a little off track,
A little bit.
but I think honestly, I don't know. I might have to do another 5,1 build this year. I've done a bunch of those, but the one that I did last year, weirdly enough, wouldn't even be possible now because of the GPU thing. So last year I did it was either $500 or $550 Mac Pro build, and it was a pretty well-rounded device. So I basically went for the 6-core Xeon. I think it had 16 or maybe 24 gigs of RAM. It had a 500 gig SSD plus a 1 or 2 terabyte hard drive, and then I bought an AMD Radeon RX 580.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so you've probably already figured out the problem with that build. For $550, I mean, you'd be spending most of that on a 580 right now.
Yeah.
So for anyone watching along at home, if you go on eBay, as I am now, oh my, what? Someone is selling an RX 580 for $750.
And it says 74
sold?
Oh no.
Oh my goodness.
I was about to say there's no way that someone would buy it for $750, and then it says 74 sold. So
That's insane.
Just wrong.
Let me go check on how much people have actually paid. Like, I don't care what they're listed for. Oh my gosh. Okay, 480, 365, 275, 429, 468. Someone, what? Okay, it's a special edition, but someone paid $700. So yeah, all right, $400. That's literally almost all of the budget
Yeah.
on the graphics card. Do you know how much I paid for the RX 580 last summer?
How much?
$90.
Really?
$90.
It's a hell of an investment.
It sure is. I should go take it back from the friend that I gave it to and sell it on eBay.
Yeah.
That's an incredible return.
Yeah.
Buy for 90, sell it for 450 on a 2017 GPU.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous. But the problem is, I think because of the GPU shortage, just as it's very sort of financially infeasible to build a gaming PC right now, that also applies to the 5,1 Mac Pros. Like if you want to buy one of those and upgrade it, if you think about like if you put in a 580, you're going to spend a couple $100 on the Mac Pro. You can upgrade the processor for about $20.
Okay.
Those are
okay.
still very cheap. Old Xeons are dirt cheap, unbelievably cheap. But if you wanted to get a 5.1 Mac Pro, go out and buy one and get a decent, not even a good, but just a passable GPU in it, you're going to be in that thing $700, $800, $900,
Oh.
which is just, I could not, there's no way that I could recommend spending that amount of money on an 11-year-old desktop.
Yeah.
It's just not feasible.
And it's not officially supported anymore.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
It'll run Mojave,
right.
but not even, I don't think Catalina was officially supported because Catalina came out in 2019 and they had the cheese grater, the new cheese grater Mac Pro. So they dropped the old one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just ridiculous. And it's a shame because they're still decent computers. I mean, they're not great. In terms of power per watt, performance per watt, holy moly. Like, if you want to compete with the M1s, you got to get the dual CPU things. It's pretty insane, actually. Like, an M1 will very easily beat the fastest 12-core Mac Pro. And those things will use, like, 400 watts of power at full tilt. When you're running Cinebench, you're pulling, like, I mean, I think they're rated for 120 watts each per CPU, 2 CPUs. You're pulling 240 watts easily.
Yeah.
Those things have 1,000 watt. Actually, I think it might be even 1,500 watt power supplies.
Oh, wow.
It's ludicrous. And you can beat it with a freaking iPad, basically.
Yeah.
The Mac Mini with like its tiny little fan and its little tiny board and this giant Mac Pro going sucking up all that juice. So yeah, I mean, in terms of if you're recycling a 5.1, you know, if it's a working computer, there's no need to throw it away. E-waste is a big thing. We don't want it.
Yeah.
That's my input there. We don't want e-waste. But I can't recommend going out and building one right now just because the GPUs are so expensive.
You could hold on to it and wait for the price to come down. I feel like by the time that happens, it'll be even older.
Yeah, I don't see this GPU crisis ending anytime super soon. And actually, you know what? While we're on the subject of GPUs and Macs, I think our next topic, literally right next to it in the list, fits into this pretty perfectly. Mac OS for gaming.
It's an oxymoron right there.
Almost literally an oxymoron.
Or is it?
So here was the question. Do you see Apple getting more into the gaming market, and what could they do to get the customers to switch over? I mean, real AAA gaming. Do you think the way to go would be an Apple TV gaming console kind of thing, or just really good GPUs in Macs and contracts with game publishers to make games for Macs? How could they remove the stigma that Macs are not for gaming? Great question.
Yeah, it's a lot of interesting points in the question.
Yeah.
As well.
Now, I think before we went live, you said that you had some thoughts on this. Do you want to start off?
I think we both had some good thoughts about this, but sure. The first thing that I thought of was we have seen Apple trying to come into the gaming space a little bit, right? Apple Arcade's the obvious one. And the whole thing with Apple Arcade is that I think it's really aimed towards casual gamers or even people who aren't really gamers. You know what I mean? There's like gamers, people who play games a lot, right? Everyone will play a game every so often, but a lot of people don't play games very frequently. And I think Apple Arcade, or at least the games that are on there, are generally targeted towards people that aren't serious gamers. They're not AAA titles by any means, but they're good games. I mean, there's a lot of variety. They're fun games. They're very high quality. It's a great service. And then there's been other things that Apple has done, adding the support for game controllers to iOS and Mac OS and all that, which is really, really nice to use an Xbox controller, or I have the Backbone controller. It's this new controller you like slot your phone in and then you hold it like this, kind of like a Nintendo Switch sort of. And iOS has native controller support, so it just works in any game that supports controllers. The controller will work, and it's a great experience. So I think Apple has moved in that direction. Do I see them going full AAA and making a game console, or making like a really powerful Apple TV that well, first of all, like, I mean, Apple hardware is already pretty powerful, so it's not like they have to go way out of their way to make something powerful enough. But I don't know. I feel like Apple has a very like family friendly or like clean or whatever it is that like I can't imagine like a Call of Duty or something that they would be. And there's like the Call of Duty mobile thing that they do, but like a big like the big AAA titles. I don't know. I don't see it as much with Apple.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that in terms of like brand association, basically.
Right.
Because so I think in the past, there's a couple different ways that you can approach this issue. I think mainly the reason that Macs haven't been used for gaming is the economy of scale. There is not a market, like gamers were not buying Macs because frankly they're not, I mean they've never been designed for gaming. You could always build a PC or buy a PC that had more powerful specs for less. That was always like, you know, in terms of like a box full of parts, you were going to get better, quote unquote, better gaming parts from a PC than from a Mac. But that was when Apple was using parts that PCs also used, right? Like their Intel processors were not particularly unique. Sometimes there were special configurations, but nothing really crazy. However, because there weren't any gamers buying on Macs, there was no incentive for developers to make the games work on the Mac. So a couple of them did, like Valve, a lot of Valve games will run on a Mac. But none of the, like, as you say, AAA titles, none of the, like the Call of Duty, The Witcher, Cyberpunk, those are not going to run on a Mac. And even like in boot camp or stuff, you wouldn't want to because they're not, it's not an enjoyable experience to game on a Mac, even if it's possible.
Right.
However, think of it this way. When app developers or game developers develop a game, they have to make it for Xbox and they have to make it for PlayStation. Those are specific, identical consoles, right? You design it for PlayStation and it works on all the PlayStations. So that makes sense because you don't have to make the game scale. You're just making it to run on one system and everyone else that has that system will get the same experience. With Apple Silicon, you could make a similar argument. Because yeah, when you build a PC, if you're making a game, a AAA title, and you're making it for PC support, you have to make sure that it runs on old Haswell CPUs paired with ancient 10-year-old graphics cards. You have to make sure that it works on an AMD CPU with an NVIDIA graphics card, an Intel CPU with an NVIDIA graphics card, an Intel with AMD, an AMD with AMD. There's a ton of combinations that you have to support.
Right.
And you also have to try to make it run on older systems. So you have to like make the graphics able to run on like a 980 or a 1070. You also have to make it run well on a 3090. There's a lot of different things that you have to build for. But the incentive is there because the market is there. There's people on those systems that are going to buy your game. So it makes sense. With the Mac running Apple Silicon, I almost wonder if the incentive will come back in a way. If Apple, and this assumes that Apple doesn't, do anything to basically make it more difficult to develop for the Mac. But like realistically, if there are Macs that are more powerful than PCs that would actually be capable of running games, it would be easier to develop for a relatively confined system of computers that all have the same basic foundation. iPhones, iPads, and Macs will all be very homogeneous. And there's only ever a maximum of like 6 or 7 different models of Mac. So in theory, it wouldn't necessarily be that difficult to develop for them. So if Macs with M1X have decent GPUs, Apple makes some dedicated GPUs to the point where they're, capable of gaming. And if game developers are able to develop on them, I could see some sort of gaming come back to the Mac. What I think would be more likely actually is an Apple TV game console.
Mm-hmm.
That I think I could see, because Apple Arcade is very like mobile gaming, and an Apple TV would fit the bill for that.
That's true. I mean, we do have, well, so I'll respond to that really briefly, but I wanted to also go back. As far as like the Apple TV, like we do have the Apple Arcade app on the Apple TV, and I think most, if not all, of the Apple Arcade games, probably not all of them, but I'd say most of them will work on an Apple TV, and you can pair your Xbox controller, your PlayStation controller, and you can play them. So if Apple wants to invest even more into Apple Arcade, and they put out an even more powerful Apple TV to run the games, then they definitely could. But I do think you had an interesting point about like Macs becoming more homogenous and being able to I guess it being easier to support Macs, or the idea of like, you write your one thing and it'll work on all the Macs, right? I think there's sort of two things that are holding the Mac back. The first one is the game engines, or the like run times or whatever. I'm blanking on the exact word, but like DirectX and Vulkan, I think, are the two.
That's true. Yeah.
The two big ones, and I don't think either of them work on a Mac. There might be something with Vulkan on a Mac. I'm not entirely sure, but with DirectX, I know that's like a Microsoft thing. So that's one thing. Right now, Apple has Metal, right? And Metal is basically, it's like their version of OpenGL, which is a standard graphics library, but it's their version, and it's even more native. They called it Metal because it's running like on the bare metal of the machine, so it's like super optimized and all that. So, and that's what like all the games will use, like the games on Apple Arcade, and any games or simulations on a Mac, you're gonna want to use Metal for that. So Apple does have that in place. I don't know how well it plays with the other architecture things like DirectX and Vulkan and Unity and Unreal Engine. I don't know if they export to Metal or not. But I think the other part though is just about like Apple I don't think is going to try to advertise towards gamers, and they're not going to release a Mac with an RGB keyboard and like gamer lights and whatever. So I feel like if Apple isn't the one to take, let me put it this way: if Apple took the initiative to say we want to reach gamers, and they really put the effort in to put out the ads and change the image, and they were able to get developers to develop apps for the Mac or develop games for the Mac, port their games over, whatever, and make it a bigger thing, then maybe it could happen. But I feel like I don't see people just saying like, oh, well, the Mac is, maybe it's easier to develop for now, or oh, it's more powerful now, I'm going to go put my game on there and hopefully some people are going to, start gaming on a Mac. I feel like it needs more of a push, and I don't think that's going to happen.
That's true. There definitely has to be a top-down push, because game developers, like, you have to keep in mind, like with what Noah said, I mean, DirectX, Vulkan, all these game engines aren't really designed. They don't really have an analog on Mac OS. So it's not even a matter of demand. It's a matter of like if you're going to develop a game, you want to know that people are going to play it where you're developing for. And why are you going to hire a whole bunch of Mac programmers and invest hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars to get your game or your game engine optimized for the Mac if Apple's not going to really give you any help? Because Apple is very they like to pretend that they're all neutral. They like to pretend, oh, we like app developers, we want you to develop what you want to develop. They're absolutely not. Every single thing that Apple does is very, very cultivated and is designed to boost the image of what Apple is. And you're absolutely right, Noah. If Apple doesn't think that gaming fits their image, which I think it very much doesn't, then they have no incentive to make it easier for games to run on the Mac. Like, do you think that Apple is just like clueless and they can't figure out how to get games on their platform? Absolutely not. Believe you me, if Apple wanted gamers, Apple would have gamers.
Yeah, no, I think but I think that's kind of the point. Like when you look at Apple Arcade, Apple was trying to get into the gaming scene, I guess you could say. And they said, well, look, we have the App Store on the iPhone and people play tons of games on the iPhone. So we're going to get into it by doing these like casual, pick up and play games that are optimized for a phone. And the games look great. And a lot of these games are available on other platforms. The games look great. They play great. I'm not saying anything bad about the games at all. But if you look at the games that Apple has and how they play and what they look like, it's very reflective of the rest of Apple as far as like, they're targeting the broadest, first of all, they're targeting the broadest possible group. They're saying, people who play games on their phones, which is pretty much everyone. Even if you're not a gamer, you play a game on your phone, right? And the kinds of games that they have are I don't even know how to say it exactly, but they're just, like general, widely appealing, mobile games, I guess.
Yeah. And I think there's definitely people. I mean, if you've ever gone on like if you've ever had to research anything gamery, there's a very clear sentiment amongst quote unquote real gamers that mobile gaming is not real.
Right.
But you could argue that it's just as big an industry. I mean, it's objectively still gaming. If you are playing poker, if you're playing solitaire on your phone, then technically you're playing a video game. Definitionally.
Yeah.
It's certainly been gatekept to be much more narrow. Like for example, there's this one guy on Twitter that like got into this whole argument with like some of my followers because he was saying that if you can't play real games, it's not a real computer. Like if you can't do everything, the crux of his argument, this was definitely a PCMR guy, and this is actually quite an amusing argument to make, was basically if I can't do everything on my computer, it's not a complete computer. And his definition of everything was like PC apps.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a hilariously terrible argument to make. To say if I can't do everything, it's not a real computer, so therefore you can't buy a Mac. The very immediate thing that I thought of was, well, I'm a Final Cut Pro user.
Right.
So by that argument, a PC is not a complete computer because it can't run Final Cut Pro. So like obviously that's a ludicrous and absurd argument, but that's just the way that that's the way that some people think. And quite frankly, I don't think Apple gives a hoot about appealing to that mindset,
Yeah.
Like do you ever think, like if you think about Apple and marketing, it's very slick, it's very intentional. They never admit that they're wrong even when they are. Butterfly keyboard. Could you imagine Apple making an ad for gamers? Just think about what that would possibly look like.
Yeah, I don't know, the upbeat music and the clean the white room shots of the hands touching on all the things, tapping the buttons. I don't know if that would work for the gamer crowd.
Like imagine, like if you've ever seen a Razer commercial or like an ROG commercial, you can clearly see they're like, okay, they like have like the epic music and like dun, 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 and then they have like the lights and the vents and they're like, oh, look at how cool this looks. Oh, you're gonna so many frames. Oh man, you're gonna play so many games on this. Imagine for one iota of a second an Apple ad with like an angular like venti cover, like snarling computer, and like, oh, look at all these frames. Look at all that you can kill people, play violent video games. That is so not Apple.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because like I think with Apple Silicon, as I was saying earlier, you could definitely make the argument that it might be easier. Like if you were developing a game from the ground up, it might be easier to do that for a Mac because you don't have to deal with as wide a range of configurations and drivers and compatibilities because there's only a finite number of Macs that are pretty small. So in terms of support, it would probably be easier than building for PC from ground up, not like trying to port it over. That's probably very difficult.
Yeah.
But there's no motivation to, because Apple is never going to orient themselves for gamers. Gamers are never going to orient themselves to Apple. Gamers hate Apple.
Yeah.
Gamers, every time Apple comes out with anything, gamers are frothing at the mouth with rage because they hate it with so much of their core being for no real discernible reason. Because, like, if they weren't going to buy it and Apple didn't try to tell them to buy it, like, what's the big... who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it happening beyond, like, Apple knows where they want to go in the gaming space, and that's where they are with Apple Arcade, and they can expand it, they can add more games, make it bigger, but they're not gonna... I don't think they're doing AAA.
Yeah, one of the other questions that we have here, I'll see if I can find the email, was talking about whether or not we think that Mac OS and iPad OS are merging. I think this has been a topic of discussion for a while. Pretty much, I would say it probably started around the original iPad Pro, I think, like 2015. Because that was when, actually, was it that year or was it the next year when Apple started doing like it's not a computer, it's an iPad. Or
What's
like
a computer?
What's a computer? That whole ad campaign that got quite a bit of ridicule. It's funny because I think that campaign was about 2 years early, maybe 3 years early, because I think it's a decently valid argument now. I mean, there was a while when, Noah, you were basically using your iPad only.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that, like, that's like the thing that I feel very strong about the iPad is that I'd say the majority of people, not people watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, but the majority of people in general, your parents, your grandparents, etc., can use an iPad for all the stuff they need to do, or almost all the stuff they need to do, totally fine, no problem.
Yeah.
The majority of people.
Browsing the web, easy.
Check your email, Facebook, social media, watching a video, calling a video call, voice call, whatever.
You could even argue that it adds a little bit more for the quote unquote sort of nebulous average consumer. You could even argue that it adds more value to them insofar as, like, the widely accessible mobile games that are available on an iPad are definitely better. Like, I don't really know of any mobile games that you would play on a Mac. Like, I know in the iMac Mini video, I played Crossy Road as like a goof, but you would never actually play that on a Mac. Yeah, like, that's ridiculous. There's a lot of iPad games. I mean, my mom has an iPad Pro 9.7 inch that is, I mean, that's a pretty old thing, but she still plays a lot of games on it.
Nice.
She has like Sudoku.
Love that one.
Gotta have Sudoku.
Love it.
iPad is great for mom Sudoku. It's hard to think of a better medium for moms to play Sudoku than on an iPad.
That's true.
So, like, I think there's a very decent argument to be made that for most people, not only could you get what you need to get done on an iPad, but you could probably do it better than on a normal Mac.
Yeah, it's easy. Like if you think about, like, your parents, grandparents, people who are somewhat less tech literate, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, but for the people who are less technically literate,
and that's not a problem, by the way. You don't have to be a nerd like us. That's totally fine.
Well, I'm not a nerd, but but yes, for those people in that demographic, it is better, right? You go in the App Store and you download your stuff, and it's a lot easier. You don't have to worry about, like, viruses and updates, whatever. It's an easier experience. You know,
I mean,
it just works.
I can't argue with that, to be honest, though. Like, I don't know. iPads have been really, really solid in terms of they last a long time, given how much they cost. I mean, if you're talking about compared to some Android tablets, yeah, sure, they're probably a little more expensive. Like an iPad Pro, $800, pretty expensive. But compare that to, like, if you were to buy a new laptop, An $800 budget is not outside of the realm of what people are willing to spend. And iPads present a pretty compelling value. Now, granted, you could make the argument that you have to accessorize a fair bit. Like, personally, I think you need a keyboard. If you want to make the argument that an iPad can replace your laptop, and I'm quite curious, I'll probably do a video where I'll try to replace my laptop with whatever new iPad Pro comes out this year. But in order to really do that, I think realistically you need a keyboard. You're not going to be doing serious productivity on the screen keyboard. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're writing a lot of emails or doing word processing or whatever, yeah, you're going to want a keyboard.
Yeah, but I think back to the original question, are they going to converge? I don't think so. I could see why people were concerned when iPads started to get more powerful and more Mac features. And Macs, I guess they didn't really get any more iPad-y, apart from the design themes this year with Big Sur. But I don't see them converging because I don't see them really, they don't really fulfill the same tasks. Like, there would be a lot of steps that would have to happen to get the Mac to be exactly like the iPad. And I don't think that, even though it seems close, I don't think it's as close as it seems.
Yeah, I think they're not gonna merge because, I mean, they're different products and Apple wants them to be different products so that you'll buy both of them.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, not just so that you'll buy both of them, but so that they're not making the same, it'd be kind of weird if they're making sort of the same product.
I think for a large part, it's because they want you to buy both.
But yes, they want you to buy both.
I think that's exactly what it is.
To be fair though, no, they're not gonna merge, but they have absolutely gotten closer together. You can talk about things like the Mac design being more like iPad OS, but the big thing is the Marzipan porting iPad apps over to the Mac. And even now on like Big Sur and the latest Xcode and stuff, it's like Marzipan, I don't know what the official name, what was the official name for that? Catalyst, right? So Catalyst, of you have an iPad app, you want to put it on the Mac. That's sort of a stopgap, right? The way, if you use Apple's latest tech stack, their latest frameworks and all that, the app that you build will be compatible with Mac, iPad, iPhone right out of the box. The way they changed it, and you use Swift UI, and basically the way it works is you have your common directory, your shared directory that has all the stuff that's shared across the platforms, and then you have a directory for iPad specific and Mac specific and iPhone specific. But the vast majority, pretty much all of your app, is going to be in that shared directory that's shared amongst all of the things, and it's just out of the box native runs on all the platforms. So that's Apple's future. If you use their latest tech stack and you do what they want you to do, then your app is going to run on a Mac and an iPad just the same. So they're not gonna merge. You're not going to be running Mac OS on an iPad, but we're getting to the point where you're going to be running a lot of the same apps, and the apps on the iPad are getting more powerful. Maybe we'll get Final Cut and Logic Pro on the iPad eventually. So they're not going to merge, but they're absolutely getting closer together.
I think that's an interesting point, because I think the fact, some people have been looking to the fact that obviously on a very fundamental level, the silicon is more similar than ever.
Yeah.
Apple Silicon, like the M1, is an iPad chip. I guarantee that the A14X is going to be identical in almost every single way. They're probably the same exact chips from the same wafers. I would not be surprised in the slightest if that were the case, but with different accelerators and encoders, enabled or disabled. I think that they're probably going to be exactly the same. So right now, you could make the argument that the M1 Macs are iPads, just in different shapes. But all of that, Catalyst, the fact that you can run apps on multiple on iPads and Macs as well, to me, that speaks more to, we want these devices to be more complementary,
right,
rather than more similar. Because if Apple wanted you to replace your Mac with the iPad, they would make the iPad more expensive.
True.
The iPad Air is $600. Do you really think that Apple wants you to spend less money when you could spend more? No. They didn't make the iPad Air $600 so that you could save $400 over the MacBook Air. they made it so you could say, oh, well, it's only another $600. I'll buy both.
Right.
So I think for people that are afraid that Macs and iPads are going to become the same thing, that is not a very good business model, and that's why it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as that. And someone said sounding like LTT, what, by being right? I mean, what's wrong with that? Anyway, thank you guys for listening to this episode of Drk Mode. We had a good time, good discussion.
Yeah.
Definitely send us any suggestions for topics, things that you're looking for advice on. We're thinking actually of next week, doing a bit of like a YouTube tell-all and kind of discuss how it works.
Yeah, I'm obviously much less of a YouTuber than Luke is, but
Your channel's older than mine.
it's true. We both have YouTube channels. We've both had a lot of experience. We both have some interesting stories to tell.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have some numbers to share that might be
Well,
interesting.
we can share some numbers. I'm not sure how in depth we want to go on all of the numbers, but I would certainly be open to exploring anything that you guys have for us. So if you're watching right now live, or if you're listening to this, let us know. Send over any questions that you have about what it's like to run a YouTube channel. And I mean, obviously we're not the end all be all experts here. We're not, we don't have 10 million subscribers, but from what our experiences are, I think it would be interesting to see what you guys want to know and see what we could help you with. So definitely send over any questions to submissions@drkmodepodcast.com.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I have been your host, Luke Miani.
And I've been your host, Noah Rubin. Have a good night.